What is going on, everybody? Man, Eric Wilson here on a Monday nights. The Sports Arena's in the house live every Monday as we do 10 p.m. on the East Coast. Man, great to be back with y'all for a number of reasons. One, I'm very happy that the Olympics are done and over with. And I say that because we, once again, for men and women's basketball, have taken the gold. Congratulations to both the men's USA Olympic team. And I mean, I know everybody has been talking about we always talk about the catch or the shot or the hit heard around the world. But I truly believe that Steph Curry last night put everything into emphasis on his fourth from pretty much the cheap seats three-pointer. Just an amazing game. That one actually happened on Saturday, beating France. And I saw all the memes doing it on 8, 10, 24 in honor of the late, great Kobe Bryant because he wore those numbers, 8 and 24, of course, for the Los Angeles Lakers. And then number 10 was his Olympic jersey. And then the women, because North Philly got to stand up. And as Asia Wilson called her, summing up KFC, Kalia freaking Copper, simply saying, that bitch. She has now changed to iced Copper because smooth in the fourth quarter of their gold medal game against France. So shout out again to both the men and the women Olympians coming home with the gold. And more importantly, let's take a moment as I welcome in my man, the left coast, the west coast. He's a Sun Devil, Jerry, my brother Mike Caratanudo, who does cover the Phoenix Mercury. Mike, man, good evening to you. But let me just say this. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five. 6 for Diana Taurasi. 6 gold medals for Diana Taurasi. I mean, for all the talk, for all the negativity, for all the naysayers, the keyboard warriors, the trolls, all of y'all can truly just kiss her backside because she is a true Olympian in every single sense of the world, of the word. I mean, and it didn't matter whether she was on the court or she was assisting, if you will, Cheryl Reeve and the rest of the coaches as far as keeping that momentum and keeping that energy going. But as we talked about last week here on the Sports Arena, when you got Asia Wilson and Breanna Stewart on the same court, dog, I mean, listen, all I can say is for anybody who's never seen them play, you'll watch them play in the Olympics. If you don't get excited about the second half of the WNBA season, knowing that those two women now have to go back to their respective teams and this could potentially be a WNBA finals, I mean, it just speaks to who they are, not only as women, not only as athletes, not only as entrepreneurs and business women, but now as Olympians.
Yeah, I mean, look, I did come up with a solution too to our NBA playoff problem. I can't believe that you did not text me thinking of this too. Our actually not even just NBA, but all our playoff problems. We need to bring in FIBA officials because look, we said from the beginning, and that's one thing they talked about, even when you were here in Phoenix, is that it is a more physical game. And yes, there's some stuff I'm like, dude, you got to be kidding me. I could play at that level if I got to consistently, what up, Darnell? If I got to consistently do that, like you and I, like they even say, like, yeah, there are certain sports, like, yeah, growing up, obviously playing soccer, there's certain things, but like, like playing football, playing basketball, it's like, dude, I could have had a career if I could get away with this. And yeah, some of it I'm like, yeah, that's not a foul in the NBA. And even in the W games we sat at, they'll sit there and call like, somebody sneezes and they call it a moving screen. So I say, bring in the damn FIBA officials. But I digress. Back to your beautiful monologue and soliloquy there is that, Yeah, look, the only thing that frustrated me is, of course, yeah, I mean, I guess from a fan sentimental standpoint, like you would love to see DT play. And look, the way Jackie Young played, when she was in it, and look, I do think Cheryl Reeve and the staff did a good job of mixing it up. But I mean, when she finally put Kelsey Plum in, I mean, look, hey, everybody has those games, and not that France was an easy matchup, walk in, but Jackie Young just wasn't having a game. You're telling me you finally put in Kelsey Plum. You don't put in UNESCO, who had, I mean, look at those three dimes. She came in and she was just like, boom, boom. Oh, Nafisha Collier, you're open. Boom. Asia, it's like, but my point is with Young struggling, it's like, yeah, I get from a coach standpoint, you want your players to play through it. And you know me, I get sick and tired of everybody saying, oh, in any sport, oh, this team's trash or this professional team. I always say, cool. They're at the professional level for a reason. Yes, are there different talent, skill levels like you and I always talk about? Sure. But Jackie Young, I mean, mightily struggling into like late in the first second. You're telling me and even Lisa Leslie, sentimental favorite or not, Diane Taurasi, one of her sentimental favorites or not, he said it at halftime. Was like, yeah, you'd like to see maybe come in for some threes, even if you put Taurasi in for, 2-3 minutes. It's not like, when France went to those smaller guards, we were saying, and yeah, she's not the same defender. She'll be the first to say it, but you just talked about it, like the leadership. We've talked about it. Like it's the smarts, half the times not like tipping a ball away, knocking a ball away, getting in the passing lane. It's the experience and the smarts. So like, and I love Cheryl. She did a hell of a job, but I just think like all of a sudden you turned into like an NBA playoff series where I go nuts. Like, cool, you've played 9 guys all year, but now you can only play 6. Awesome, great idea. Like tire but then you say, oh, well, they're really tired. Well, I got an idea. I don't know. Maybe those guys you develop that know your system that, were there, you might want to play an extra 2 guys, 5, 6, 7 minutes, whatever. Like, and so again, when I was texting some people, I'm like, they're like, oh, now you're going to sit there. I'm like, no, man, I'm not ripping on Cheryl. Like her credentials speak for themselves, as you and I both know what she's done. But that being said, come on, Taurasi for a few minutes. I mean, BG. And look, I get when you're playing the matchups. And again, not that BG can't get up and down the court, but you could have slowed the pace up a little bit. We saw how Asia and her looked on the court, how Stewie and her looked on the court, and Asia, to her credit, I mean, yeah, she was, again, it was a physical game, but there were times, I mean, she just missed some uncharacteristic. I was like, wait, what the hell? Like, totally missing layups. So, and I mean, I see what Darnell said. The worst, it wasn't like the worst.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, I'm just now seeing this. Wait.
France has a good. Come on, Darnell. France, they're good.
Yeah, yes, he's gonna need to come defend that position, bro.
The women's side isn't the men's side because we get and people when we've talked about it on the show. I mean, even our buddy, the Sports Report Without Pay, we started talking about MVPs, and like you and Ray were saying that night when we were talking about when's the last time an American player won MVP? I mean, yeah, Embiid, okay, yes, he has citizenship in all these places, and he played for the U.S., but it's one of those things where, look, France, I mean, that's the way they play. In the first half, I mean, I kind of love the first half. I'm like, come on, they're letting get away with too much. Then I went back and watched it. I'm like, no, man, it's just FIBA. Like, there's some of it I'm like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, that should be a foul. And there's other ones at times I'm like, wait, what is this? The end? Like, what is this, WNBA? Like, wait, what's that whistle from? I mean, Kelsey Plum a few times was like, are you kidding me? But yeah, I mean, BG played 4.5 minutes, and I mean, obviously had that spurt. But I mean, Jackie Young struggling. Plum comes in. Obviously, UNESCO came in, and again, if there's something else there we don't know, but I mean, everybody else is like, why would you not play DT a little bit? Obviously, so. But yeah, outside of that, it was, I mean, when Sabrina came in, she was on point. Kelsey Plum obviously hitting that, late in the fourth quarter as the time's coming down, those 2 big threes, the one in the corner and then the one on the wing. I mean, obviously, I was Pac-12.
I mean, listen, I said it before they played one Olympic game. I said no one was even close. No disrespect to any of the countries, but the USA women's basketball team, every single one of those ladies, from Breanna Stewart to Nafisha Collier to Asia Wilson to Kelsey Plum to Jackie Young to DT to BG to KFC, Sabrina Ionescu, I mean, Jewel Lloyd. Listen, do I adjust my statement because of who was on France and that being Gabby Williams? And I've seen Gabby Williams firsthand play. I know what she's capable of. I think she is very underrated. Maybe. But we're still talking about the talent level of these women. 60, what is it, 62 or 61?
61 in a row.
61 in a row.
They haven't lost since the Dream Team was in Spain, in Barcelona. That was the last time they lost.
Find me another team that doesn't play together consistently that goes 61-0. Don't worry, I'll wait. And speaking of people I'm happy to see.
And let your dynasty real quick, 8 in a row.
Yeah.
No other team is ever in the Olympics.
But let me go ahead and get my brother in here. He decided to grace us because when you make comments like this, I'm gonna say you need to show up and defend your position. Ladies and gentlemen,
the other team was playing defense, but yes, defend your position.
My brother, the one and only playmaker, is in the building, joining us here tonight on the Sports Arena. So you go and talk it, and the one thing I love about you is you ain't never scared. I love that about you, my brother, which is why we have such a great kinship. Before I go any further, though, first and foremost, I got to ask you this question. Mm-hmm. How are you? How's the family? And did the storm affect you in any way?
Storm did not affect me. I'm good. Just finished wrapping up my coverage of the Olympics earlier today, along with Cole Johnson, Megan Price. I even had Ray Lynn come on the show. So
hold on. How you got my people on your show, man, and don't nobody show up for me and Mike? What is going on here?
So I planned this out ahead of time. That's why. Oh. So when I knew, because Eric, you remember when the World Cup was happening, I was one of the few shows that was covering the World Cup.
Yes.
Like most people didn't care about the World Cup.
Well, don't you throw that shade at me.
I said most people. I ain't saying everybody. I said most.
All right. I was going to say, because I hated from watching our show when the little bit we talked about it, I hated the time of year it was at because, you can't play in 5,000 degree weather.
But
anyway, sorry.
But when I knew, I said, all right, if I'm covering the World Cup, I got to cover the Olympics. It's only right. So I was like, if I'm covering the Olympics, I would like to have a couple of people with me that would be the mainstay for this. So Cole Johnson was one of them, and Megan Price was the other one. So reached out to both of them. They said off rip, yes, they did not hesitate.
All right, I'm gonna see the Queen of Hoop sometime soon. I'm gonna ask you about that. I'm like, oh, she missed 806 now, so she be out there hanging out in Amarillo and doing production now. Megan, I'm telling y'all.
And the thing is, I was able to fit. I was able to work with her schedule to make it happen.
Yeah.
All right,
so I face my schedule around what. Come on, hey. Okay. When you trying to do something, you gotta make some things happen.
Anyhow, you said in your comment this was the worst you've seen Team USA women play, and yet they still won. So I'm gonna give you the floor on this one because you got to explain this to me.
So if we were watching the game yesterday, a lot of missed shots around the bucket by AJ Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Brittany. I'm like, wow, I have not seen these ladies miss these many right by the bucket like this. Turnovers, just our women's team usually are not careless like that with turnovers. You'll get a few, but not the way that at that rapid pace that they was able to start this game. I was like, they are really, what is going on here? Turnovers? I mean, you talking about France had 10 steals in the game. When is the last time you can say another women's national team had that many steals against Team USA in the 61 win streak that they had? When is the last time you seen USA shoot less than 35% from the field? They shot 33.9% from the field, and they shot 16.7% from 3-point range.
Right, but that would go to France's defense. I'm not saying they're not more talented, Darnell. If you're saying, yeah, I get what you're saying, but I mean, France did cause some of that, and some of it, yes, I do agree with you. It was just sloppy passing. It just seemed like they were a teeny bit off key. But I'm not gonna totally discredit France because that's how they played the whole tournament.
That's not discrediting France by me saying. It's me saying based on what I know how the women's national team plays.
Right.
That was the worst that they played that I have ever seen, and they were still able to win that game.
Right.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna let that one. I'm gonna let that one go. But what I'm saying to you is, and again, I will amend my statement by saying there isn't a team that is even close. What I'll say to you is France is there. France is probably the only team that I saw in these Olympics who truly gave the USA women's Olympian basketball team a shot, played on their level, if you will. But I still say that, without a shadow of a doubt, when you put those 12 women on the court together, you form that team, and then you have Coach Cheryl Reeve directing them, guiding them, inspiring them, motivating them, and pushing them to be the best. We said it last week here on the show. You put Breanna Stewart and Asia Wilson on the court together, it's not even fair. It's not even close. So I will respectfully say to you, yes, France is maybe a tier below the USA women's Olympic basketball team. But that's it. No disrespect to Nigeria, no disrespect to Australia or anybody else who came up against this USA women's basketball team.
No,
not even close.
We seen it in this when they played Belgium. Belgium gave them a hard time. I mean, they locked down defense and winning by double digits. Germany, the second go around, gave them a hard time. Knocked it down on defense, won by double digits. Sunday's game was different. It was different. It was different.
All right. Like I said, I appreciate you coming through. I knew I wanted to have this conversation. Thank you for stopping by. Before I let you get out of here, because we're going to take a quick break, my brother, I'm going to give you the screen. Let the people know where they can follow you, watch you, and be entertained, and most importantly, informed by you, sir, and all of your greatness.
Well, you can catch the Playmakers Bar on the YouTube channel. You can catch it on Facebook at the Playmakers Bar Facebook page because even though the Olympics is done soon, the WNBA season comes back Thursday, so I will resume my coverage of that. Also, college football with Bearing Down the Gridiron on Wednesdays, and then Ramley Talk makes his return for season 5 on Thursday.
My brother, much love to you. Thank you for stopping by, man. When Mike and I get back, we are definitely going to talk some NFL preseason. And Playmaker, you're welcome to stick around if you want to, but I know you're a busy man. But more with the crew in the sports arena in just a moment.
Connecting your brain and body with interactive games and tests. Why is there no physical activity in today's health physical? Trazer is an holistic technology used to rehabilitate, prevent falls, and improve sport performance. Trazer reports provide you, your clinician, your physical therapist, or athletic trainer objective data to make decisions on your health and performance over time. Measure what matters to change your game. Take the Trazer Challenge. Confidence, growth, connected by Trazer.
Ladies and gentlemen, back on the Sports Arena with your man Eric Wilson alongside my brother Mike Caratanudo, the left coast to west coast. He's the Sun Devil, Jerry. ASU, Pitchfork Lunch. This brother's got a lot going on. Make sure you stick around and stay tuned. So, Mike, let's talk about some NFL preseason because it is preseason. NFL is back, as we know. The Hall of Fame game, unfortunately, was suspended, but we did get to see some games. And before I get into two people that both you and I know very well in their current negotiation situation, contract disputes, requesting trades, let's just take a moment to talk about these games and just get our thoughts and opinions. So, of course, I'm going to ask you about, the Dallas game against the Rams that happened this past Sunday. Rams come back and win it. Give me your thoughts on what you saw from your team.
Yeah, I mean, it's preseason week 1. I'm not gonna, me. We definitely need preseason. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, I mean, I like the 2 interceptions. Again, I was watching, paying attention ish, but again, watching more Olympic stuff and all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, I liked it. Mike Zimmer there, see some of these young guys, and quite a few of them, will be on special teams. But yeah, I like how they battled E. I mean, it was just one of those things where when I look at it, I mean, young guys are going to be hyped up. And that's one thing I always loved about, the first preseason game. Because, like I said, even in the Hall of Fame game, obviously, and I mean, we'll get to the Bears, Caleb Williams played this week. But, yeah, I mean, just to see, I mean, obviously Cooper Rush out there, Trey Lance, out there. But yeah, I mean, it's always interesting. And I know obviously the line shifted around a little bit. I mean, Biotish is now, wants to be a trader and, even though he doesn't play defense, go play for Dan Quinn. And, Tyron Smith is in the quote machine and just not knowing how to talk New York Jets. But I mean, yeah, overall for a first game, cool. I like seeing, I mean, I guess I like seeing the new kickoff. It is funny to look at, the kicker's like the right fielder, you're just by yourself, they're anything they can do to make kickers feel worse about themselves, right? No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, look, the new kickoff rule is cool. To see the vanilla-ness that the, Cowboys offense looked, completing some passes, defense, guys stepping in the way. I mean, they picked Stetson Bennett off 3 times. So, I mean, that's always good to see. I love to see, me, I love to see the turnovers, but we'll see, as they go forward, and I mean, I don't even know if, obviously CeeDee Lamb, he'll probably be signed by the end of next week is my guess.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that's exactly where I was going.
Right. That's just my guess. I'll let you go there. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think we see Dak in the preseason. I don't think we see. I mean, if we do, I mean, I guess it'd be for a series, literally for a series, maybe 2. But, and if Slam gets signed, I mean, you can be in shape. You still got to get, in football shape, practice, all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, but overall, like I said, I'll give it a B for young guys, and some mistakes are made. I mean, there's some glaring stuff. It's like, I mean, on the touchdown pass the Rams at the end, I mean, you're running with that guy, and then it's like you see where he's going, and then you literally curl outside, but whatever, young guy trying to guess the wrong way. I don't know, but just read the receiver. But yeah, I mean, I'll give it a B for young guys.
Okay, but let's talk about CeeDee Lamb. Let's talk about your number 1 wide receiver, Mike. He still ain't signed, and it seems as though the owner / general manager, the businessman that is Jerry Jones,
right,
kind of backtracked his statement when he said that, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, he wasn't focused on getting CeeDee Lamb signed. Now, of course, he has kind of walked that back a little bit.
He did a moonwalk. He did a moonwalk sprint.
So let me ask you, Mike, because you said by the end of this week, do you truly believe? Now, I'm asking the fan. I'm not asking the journalist. I'm not asking the unbiased Michael Carey-Tenuto. I am asking the Dallas Cowboy Mike Caratanudo. Will CeeDee Lamb get signed? Will a deal be done by Friday? Let's just say Friday, Saturday. Do you think so?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, because from what Jerry Jones said, I mean, if people didn't hear it, like you said, I mean, paraphrasing, he walked it back saying, not that it wasn't urgent, and yeah, he's missed. I mean, Dak Prescott's number one receiver. We know it. The receiving core will look different. I mean, Brandon Cooks, who still has gas left in the tank, and we saw that last year. I mean, he obviously can definitely be that I'm not going to say 1A, but like solid number 2. And with the speed, like he's more effective, obviously, with a CeeDee Lamb on the field. So yes, it would look very different, but. Yeah, I mean, look, these contracts, I mean, Jerry Jones drags it out, with Dak Prescott, Megan and I went back and forth. Like, yeah, you have to have to Dak's point, like, yeah, I mean, without no number one receiver, it's going to be, yeah, we'll see what you're made of more of now, Zach. I mean, that true number one. Again, like I said, Brandon Cooks, he can line up in that role, but it's not the same. You and I both know that. So, yes, the fans, I mean, but let's see, they play again. So, I think they play again Saturday. So, yeah, I mean, I think Saturday would be an outside shot. If I had a guess, I would say it's like a week from today would be the earliest, and then next Wednesday would be my late. After next Wednesday, I got to say I'd probably be a little annoyed with CD because it's like, and I know we argued about it with John being the highest paid, but look at the guys that got this. I mean, they turned Tyreek Hill. You didn't get extra money, but they turned some of the money into a bonus. Like, so it's guaranteed. If he's guaranteed one more dollar, that's what matters, because the years, Eric, cool. I could sign you for 5 years. After the third year, if I cut you and you're getting 45 a year, guess what? You just got the whatever the left is on the bonus money for those 2 years of the signing bonus, because you can structure it out, as we know, over the contract. Cap reasons would make sense to the team, obviously. But you're going to get that, but you're not getting $90 million. So, like, that's my point. Like, that's what I was trying to say. And John's like, when you guys are, you're crazy. I'm like, you want one more dollar in guaranteed money, because that's the true thing. And yes, the big dollar contract, it's not like they're going to say, okay, and yeah, if they were to, pull a Kirk Cousins, granted, CeeDee Lamb's not, signing a 3-year, $81 million deal, $21 million a year, or $27 million a year, sorry. Which, I mean, I guess he could, then that way it would be fully guaranteed. But yeah, they're not going to get, I mean, look, it's probably going to be a 4-year deal. It'll be, I don't think he gets more than Justin Jefferson. And I love him. I just don't think he's Justin Jefferson. Just like I think Jamar Chase, in my opinion, of these young guys, because I mean, to me, a healthy DeAndre Hopkins, I'm with you. Give him the money. But I'm just saying, of these young guys that have been in the league a minute, I don't think Justin Jefferson is worth more than Jamar Chase. God no. Like, I get they can both get downfield. I both they went and look, Eric, we might be splitting hairs here on that one. I could be splitting hairs on that one. But as for CeeDee Lamb, like, yeah, I mean, you are right there with Justin Jefferson. You did take down Michael Irvin's record. We saw after the Niners game when people said, oh, he was pissy. It's like, no, man, Robert, he wants to get things straight. Like, yeah, the Niners are a good team. Dak may have not been able to see him or get him the ball at times, because that was just a beatdown, as we all saw. But if it gets, like I said, if it gets to next Wednesday, and then it's still kind of going into that, into that next week, I mean, I would think, and Adam Schefter, I mean, he was all over today, but I heard Adam Schefter, he's like, yeah, he goes, I don't see CeeDee Lamb not being on the field week 1. So, and again, it's not that he's, sitting there, but it just makes sense for the Cowboys. Obviously, you sign CeeDee Lamb. Look, Dak wants a new deal. Great. And look, the first time I was like, all right, he got injured. They franchise tagged him. He still got the, $32 million, whatever it was back then. My theory is, yeah, like, and I've said it a million times, but Harry Douglas, guy who played, echoed it. Like, yeah, you can blame coaching to a certain point in the playoffs, but Dak Prescott, like, you need to make plays. Like Micah Parsons, as much as we love him and he's a beast, he got 1 sack in his young career, but still, he's got 1 sack in the playoff games he's played in. So like,
I know. Oh, believe me. As much as I don't like to keep tabs on,
but from a Dak standpoint, my theory is like, cool, man, like, cool, drive up your price. You know, do I think he is talented? Yes, you know that. Like I've said from the beginning, like, absolutely. But like, get to an NFC Championship game, kid. Like, I get when you're in a business, you got to want to get paid.
You got to figure it out because your time is very limited, my brother. You got to figure it out. Listen, okay, so your next preseason game is next Saturday.
Saturday, right? Okay, I was right.
Against the Raiders,
right?
So you're saying by the 21st of August, CeeDee Lamb will be signed, and as according to you, he will make $1 more in guaranteed money.
Well, I'm just saying he at least wants.
No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Again, I just think that as money as he is, I also don't think. I mean, because look, Justin Jefferson, and I know Jamar Chase did get a little, banged up and missed some time, but Justin Jefferson, no one's ever done. I mean, not even Jerry Rice. First 3 years in the league, no one's done what Justin Jefferson has done. And we talked about that. So, like,
I respect
what
these wide receivers.
I'm just saying he wants $1 more guaranteed dollar than he
I'm
wants.
not disagreeing. I respect what these wide receivers do.
Right.
But you hit the nail on the head with regard to your quarterback, Dak Prescott. And I'm just going to paraphrase again, take it kind of in the context of what we're talking about, but y'all will know what I mean when I say that. With getting your bag comes a certain level of expectation. Okay? Dak, he knows that his basement has got to be the NFC Championship game. How do you go undefeated during the regular season at home and then lose in the playoffs again at home? You weren't in Lambeau,
right,
to the youngest group in the NFL, in the Green Bay Packers. How does that even how do you do that?
Well,
but you make no changes.
Right.
You make minimal changes in the offseason to prepare yourself for
some key pieces.
Right. To prepare yourself for the following season. Oh, and by the way, when you saw the other wide receivers in the league getting their bag, you didn't think to sew up your number one guy. See, that's where I have to question Jerry and Stephen Jones, because I'm like, why y'all do this? There's a simple solution to the situation.
Right. If you sign somebody,
but y'all want to keep dragging it out. And the fact of the matter is, yesterday's prices ain't today's prices.
100%. But I think that's why a lot of teams stopped doing that too. Because you remember when, I know you remember, and I've said this to you a million times. If it wasn't for obviously the whole dogfighting, issue and incident, Michael Vick. I mean, Peyton Manning had already signed a $100 million deal, but Michael Vick signed a 10-year, $100 million deal, and I think it was like 100. Well, it was over 100 million. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it was, but it was over 100 million, and I think like 58 was guaranteed, or 60 or 50, something like 55, 58, if I recall. I'd have to look it up, but we talked about it. It was a sick number. And I said at that time, before obviously running away, before Patrick Mahomes, and I remember saying to you, Michael Vick is going to get every cent of that contract. He would have gotten every cent because he keeps playing like that. People say, oh, a running quarterback. I'm like, yeah, he has taken some hits. And when he tore his ACL, as we all remember, it was in the preseason, and it was non-contact. It's one of those things. And I always felt, like I said, Michael Vick, was going to get every cent, like I said, of that contract because he was going to play every year of it. Because I'm like, okay, I guess I could get to year 9 and cut him. And there's, 13 or 15 million, because I think it was 10 years, 150 million, 120 million, whatever, 12 to 15 million a year. But still, like, he would have seen his bonus money, or the signing bonus, and every cent of that contract. Because it's like, I mean, dude was only 24 years old when he signed it, maybe 25 if I recall. So, like, Patrick Mahomes will see it. And yeah, like, to your point, like to my point, like you need. Yes, everybody understands. Okay, in this day and age, if you don't have a quarterback, I mean, I know everybody, throws out their rankings, Eric, and I thought about you today because you know how I always crack up about rankings. Of course, like, yeah, you're trying to be biased, but if somebody doesn't like somebody doesn't like a player, a Hall of Fame voting with certain sports, like baseball, people say, how is this a guy not in? Or maybe this guy was like Art Monk. As much as I despise that team. I've said to you a million zillion times, Eric's heard this.
Yeah.
How is it that guy had to wait that long to get in the Hall of Fame when before he was in, when everybody, you're talking about like, okay, greatness. Yes, is a percentage of that conversation, but fans and everybody talking about numbers and what they did. There was only 2 receivers overall that had better numbers than Art Monk in the Hall of Fame, not in the Hall of Great, not in the Hall of Averagey, not in a Pro Bowl vote. And Art Monk had to wait all that time. And I'm like, dude, like if you were standoffish or just quiet and like that stuff's insane. But it relates like I'm saying to Michael Vick and the money, like with Dak, like, yeah, get there, get to an NFC championship game. And yeah, your defense needs to step up. And you and I used to have conversations, much as you would give me crap, but you remember like, the Cowboys would like the few times they lost the division on the last day of the season, whether it was, that one time to the Eagles and then they won it. And then the one time to Washington and Washington had like, over almost like 500 yards of total offense. And I'm like, okay, since nobody else wants to have a brain and just everybody, wants to be dumb, not you, but I'm like, does Tony Romo play defense? I remember talking to you on the phone. I was so pissed. I was like,
they look at it.
But no, it's a quarterback league. But I'm saying, like, right. If the team's performing, the quarterback gets all this credit. But if somebody's not, it's like, oh, well, this quarterback's terrible. Except if it's, if it was Tom Brady, because everything got to be Tom Brady. It's like, oh no, he's whatever. You know how annoyed I get. But
no, I get
that. Being said, like, it's frustrating.
I get it.
Because Tony Romo didn't play defense, but yeah, were there interceptions that Tony Romo threw? I said to you all the time, yeah. But are there sick passes that he made and plays that he made that maybe 2 or 3 other quarterbacks in his prime could have made alongside him? Sure, but and you and I know if you don't at least get to the conference championship game, or even if you don't get to a Super Bowl, yes, okay, losing is one thing, but you don't get to a Super Bowl, then yeah, it's always going to be that shine. And yes, as much as people hate it, we've always said it throughout the years. I mean, everybody says it. When you have that star on his helmet, it's even more glaring and shining.
Of course it is. Of course it is, because that's the expectation. Right. All right, so we talked enough about the Cowboys, and I'm letting it go because season hasn't started. Trust me, when the season starts, you're gonna get less and less. So I'm glad you got most of it out the way now. But let's talk about, and I'll talk first off about what I saw with the Baltimore Ravens, Philadelphia Eagles preseason game 1. Much like you, very basic, fundamental football, except for, of course, the last, what was it? Probably 40-some seconds, 30 seconds of the game.
Right.
Jake Elliott misses the kick. Eagles defense gets the ball back and then lines up for Jake Elliott to make the kick. So, I mean, I can't I was very happy, but again, it's preseason. I'm not going to be over jubilant and saying, this is who we are. No, it was one game. Right. Let's see what happens in preseasons 2 and 3.
Come on, the Giants the Giants beat the Lions.
It's preseason. But here's what I want to talk about. And I'm going to preface this with Mama Carrot Tenuto. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Already. But the fact that Hassan Reddick is requesting a trade and the Jets general manager, Joe Douglas, is saying, well, that's not happening.
Good for Joe Douglas.
We've already put a stalemate in a team that odds were with a healthy Aaron Rodgers and the team as constructed, they were and still have the potential to be a threat within their division.
Right.
I'm just like, how is Hassan Reddick not being there going to play not only within that locker room, but is that all the Jets media is going to talk about?
Well, I mean, with his production alone the last few years, how could you not talk about it? I mean, you saw what he did for you. You saw what he did here when he started being comfortable. Yeah, when he started being comfortable in Arizona, and then obviously he moves on, to Phillies with Jonathan Gannon there, and we see what next to that, and again, defensive line, and not that he's not talented, but I mean, we saw what he did there, and those sacks. The only thing I said to Joe Douglas, I mean, like honestly, if you're a general manager of a sports team, again, thank God they're not like thank God they're not like the president, because remember, I mean, and again. We don't do politics, but you and I know enough to where George H.W. Bush, like, I mean, he may have been a good politician, but he could not talk his whole 8 years, Eric. I mean, he says some funny things and people made a lot of jokes, but that's Joe Douglas. Just think about it. Like, he speaks more fluidly than that, but at the same time, like, and a lot of people have said this today, but Eric, that's the first thing I thought of when I heard this. And I'm like, God, I hope Eric brings this up tonight. I'm like, first things first, I hope Ernesto's not like, I see it's tropical storm already, but I'm like, oh, it seems like it's curving away. Good. Go back to the ocean, get the hell away. But
and I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you.
Exactly. I'm like, but I'm like, but all Joe Douglas had to say, and other people said this too, but the first thing I thought of, one of my first thoughts is after I kind of digested it, I heard the statement, Eric, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Hey, we really want Hassan Reddick. Obviously, we trade for him. We know what he can bring you a deep. We're looking forward to, him, we want him here, like anything. We want him here being a part of our team coming in. But the one thing I do agree with Joe Douglas said, and I've said this a million times, like agents, you sign contracts, and that's why, sports being entertainment, like we were saying, fantasy, it's like, well, you want them to honor it. Okay, well, Eric, I know if you and I signed a contract with, a sports station, news station, we're doing the show, and then all of a sudden somebody else is doing a crappier show somewhere else, but then we find out they're getting more money than us, and we go to them after 6-8 months, and we got a 2-year deal, and like, we want this, and they're like, cool, man. If you don't do it, you ain't getting paid, and guess what? you have 1 year and 4 months before you can go anywhere else.
Yeah,
which would screw us, and we couldn't do it. So, like, look, I get if you outperformed it, but the thing is, and I've said to you that frustrated me. If I was an owner, if we were owners, I would say, cool. So if you take a drop off, that means I get to dock you 30% at the end of next year, right? I can dock your 30% pay because you were whatever percentage you were worse. If you didn't contribute, I can dock that, right? Oh, players don't want to hear that. And again, look, I get it's your livelihood. We're not idiots. I get it's your body. But he's like, yeah, we're going to fine him. And a lot of times we know, like, teams, if they sign a guy like, they'll waive the fines, or they'll, they drastically reduce it, But if I'm Joe Douglas, I mean, look, Hassan Reddick hasn't reported the whole time. It's like, you didn't do, okay, voluntary camp. I get a lot of vets aren't going to do after the draft. It's for rookies. You're not going to be there. But then when you get into, the summer and you're not there and you want to work on a contract, again, you don't have to participate, man. I mean, what's his name? I mean, even though, when Brandon Marshall got shipped off from Denver back then to Chicago, like, it's almost kind of like a sit-in, like, hey, he's here. He just ain't practicing because he ain't get, like, Jonathan Taylor, more recent for people. I mean, Jonathan Taylor did that. Oh, he was on this, and then, he's kind of doing a sit-in. So he ain't getting fined. He ain't got to practice. My quad hurts. My quad's a little sore. Hey, I think my hammy's bugging me because of it. It don't matter. You and I know. We can make up 1 million exclusive players, and that's what I would do. So the only thing I agree with Joe Douglas saying while he was puking all this out, because it's like, well, you might as well now. But yeah, no, like, yeah, he will be fine as per the CBA. I love how the owners always put it as per the players' CBA, as per the NFL CBA. They always put that little jab at the players because it's
like, of course they do. Yeah, that's what they do.
But again, if I'm an owner, if you're underpaid, I get it. You could go in good faith. But yeah, I mean, Hassan Reddick, like, at some point in the offseason, I would think you would get in there. Like, so this one's on him. And look, as much as I, again, hated him when he played for you, but as much as I love Hassan Reddick and style, what he can do, to answer your long story short, too late to answer your question, though, I mean, that production is huge because, Eric, I mean, we've done the rating of the quarterbacks, and the top half of the list is pretty much all AFC quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And, I mean, again, and it's close. I mean, I'm not even saying the guys in the NFC are terrible, but I mean, look, it's like that. But the first 5, 6 on most people's list, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 are going to be AFC quarterbacks. So, like, in the playoffs, if the Jets do get there, like we thought they could, because, again, the defense is playoff and championship ready. I mean, even before Hassan Reddick got there, they would be ready. But you can't stop these quarterbacks. You're like in the playoffs, like, great, maybe Aaron Rodgers can outscore him, but guess what? The other team's probably going to have somebody. And you said Baltimore. Look, I know they didn't play anybody, but what they had on the field, and defensively, yeah. I don't know if they could be better than what I'm not saying they're best of all time, but last year, dude, Baltimore scares me defensively. We get into that later. But yeah, I mean, if you don't have Hassan Reddick there, but I support Joe Douglas. I don't know if you on that him puking like that. Again, he could have been so much more smooth. Like, oh man, I really want Eric Wilson here. Like, we want him here. We look forward to moving forward with him. And but I'm right now we're obviously talking about the players that are here in camp. The canned answer, Eric, we all know it. You and I have never coached an NFL team, and we know that answer.
Exactly. All right. So, you know what? Glad we talked about that. I just wanted to get your thoughts on CD, Dallas, Philly, and then, of course, Hassan. Short break, 10 seconds. We're going to finish up tonight talking about the second half of the WNBA season. We're back in 10 seconds. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Sports Arena with your man, Eric Wilson, alongside Mike Caratenuto. All right, second half of the WNBA season.
The second half of the WNBA season, you need to rephrase it. You need to start getting your mindset right. The second half of the Phoenix Mercury's championship march. But, I mean, I digress. I just think you should say it that way. That's what the second half of the WNBA.
I mean, realistically, there's only, 15, 16 games left of this season before we start playoffs because they're doing a 40-game season. Huh?
There's 41 games, right?
40.
Oh, 40. So some teams have 15, some teams have 16.
Some teams have played 25, 24, 26, 24, 24, 25. Yeah. So between 24 and 26, 25 games.
24 and 26, right? Indiana's played 26.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're the only team. Yeah.
I did see that the other day.
So, I mean, right now, if the postseason was to start, Phoenix would be the number 8 seed.
No, 6.
Right. Sorry. Number 6 seed. I have the West Coast up here and I'm like,
oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah.
I had to pull the East. In here.
Gotcha.
So, Mike, give me your thoughts minus Phoenix, because we already know we're going to see Phoenix down the road. But give me your thoughts on, first off, the Liberty still hold the best record at 21-4.
Right.
That team that we always say plays consistent ball.
God, did Alyssa Thomas look even just more like beastly and PO'd at the Olympics?
Oh, yeah.
When I say beastly, for people that don't know me, because I know you just go right over it, I don't mean like she's beastly or like, but like just a badass. Like she is, I mean, we've talked about it for a while. But sorry. Anyway, yes, Connecticut.
No, you're right. You're right. Clarification nowadays needs to be made. So thank you. And then you've got Minnesota and Seattle at 3-4.
Charged, man.
Oh, Jewel Lloyd is just ridiculous.
Right.
Like her handles and just her overall ability with spacing and just being able to shoot from pretty much wherever and whenever speaks to why Seattle is sitting at 17-8.
Yep.
And then, of course, you have the defending champs at 16-8, followed by the Phoenix Mercury at 6, the Indiana Fever at 7, and the Chicago Sky rounding out the top 8. Like,
yeah.
I mean, the fact that both Indiana and Chicago, with 14 to 16 games left, have a legitimate opportunity to not only be in the postseason, but however it is lined up, could potentially be maybe a first round matchup.
Well, no.
Yeah, because it doesn't go 1-8. Like,
Yeah, it does.
Nah.
Man, no. New York would. Yeah, they would. The best plays the worst.
Mike,
There's
not
only-
no, because, and I know it has switched, but the year that Chicago won, Chicago played Dallas, and Dallas wasn't the number 1 seed. There was that best of 3, and then they went and played, I believe it was Connecticut, who at that time was number 1. So the first, I don't know how it's going to be structured. It may have changed, but I do believe.
Yeah, I know they changed the matchups though when they extended the season. Because I'm looking at my notes, so I'm paying attention to you, looking at you, but on the side I'm looking at my notes.
No, I got you.
Because it says on May 24th of this year, it said the WNBA playoffs feature a 3-round bracket format now. In round 1, the matchups are by seed. So 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, and 4-5.
Okay.
First round series are the best of 3 with the 2-1 format where the higher seed hosts games 1 and 2. But yeah, so in the first round, yeah, because I think, and I don't remember because you're right, because I always thought it was one of those things, but the top seed got that, and then it was just weird how they did it. But yeah, when they extended, because that's why somebody asked me, and I said I thought it was that. But yeah, so right now, but it would be, I mean, the crazy thing is, if it ended right now, like you're saying, if the seedings were, they could see each other, but it wouldn't be until the WNBA finals, so Chicago and Indiana, which if that happens, if somebody bet on that, well, I hope they're buying us all drinks for a year because of the odds on. But
no, yeah, the odds on that are okay. So the format has changed, and thank you for educating me on that.
No, because I was with you. I was like, man, I gotta look that up. I kept meaning to do it. And it's funny. I just saved it in my notes the other day, or like 2 weeks ago or something.
So I'm looking at these. I'm looking at some of these matchups that would go in the first round.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that 4-5 was Seattle and Vegas.
Oh, Seattle and Vegas? Yeah.
Ooh.
But Phoenix and Minnesota.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And you look at, it's crazy too, because we talked about this right when they wrapped up on that, on the show we did, like the only 3 teams and, the last 10 after they wrapped, New York, obviously crushing it 9-1, Seattle and both Vegas 8-2. Everybody else was 5-5. Obviously Atlanta really struggling after it started. They're 1-9. And then the Sparks 2-8, and then Washington 4-6, and Dallas 3-7. But like I say, Chicago, Indiana, Phoenix, Minnesota, and Connecticut all at 5-5. So I mean, in their last 10, which again, you're Connecticut and you're into a point, but it's going to be interesting, E2, because we asked the questions. I mean, when you were here, and even when Indiana was here, just like you heard me asking, like Caitlin Clark, like, what is that, because the whole Olympic thing, whatever, but, that time off. And I mean, she even said it at the All-Star break, like, man, she was going to be in Paris for the beginning, obviously not the whole time. It's just she was going over to Paris for a little bit. And then, but yeah, just to kind of get that rest, breath, and then come back. And then with the players that are there, I mean, just get practice in. So, I mean, Indiana, same thing for obviously Angel Reese. I mean, the injury to Cameron Brink sucks, because I think that would have been a fun 3-way race. I mean, especially the way, Angel Reese double-doubles. Caitlin Clark obviously posted the first rookie triple-double. Cameron Brink was just kind of like, that assist, that scoring machine was kind of like seeming like she was getting comfortable, and again, there was growing pains, as they've all 3 had. But yeah, you look at these teams, and especially these college players that got breaks, it's like, man, and I thought, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark were playing with some pretty, damn good energy. And even, granted, she's a second-year player, but still, like, Aaliyah Boston as well. Like, it's just, you saw, what they're doing in Chicago. The whole, obviously, Kalia Copper trade, or I should say new gold medalist, Kalia Copper, exactly. But yeah, it's like, oh man, Chicago's really, And we thought you could, Angel Reese is going to be good. It's going to be tough. But look at that. I mean, 10-14, you're 4 games, below 500, which again, Indiana with their, their record, they're the same thing. They're both 4 games below 500. Which, definitely helps Phoenix because it is crazy because, Phoenix opens up with Chicago and Indiana when they get back. They're in Chicago,
on Thursday. On
Indiana.
Thursday,
yeah.
Phoenix is in Chicago. Yep. So, I mean, it's amazing to see this. And now that I'm actually looking at the format, like the New York Chicago potential first round matchup. Right. And that's a best of 3.
New York might win in 2, but it's going to be 2 games. Again, the improvement in Chicago.
Right.
Maybe I'm crazy. I mean, you tell me I'm crazy in New York.
No, you're not. I'm going to tell you like this, though. That Connecticut-Indiana matchup, that 2-7, Mike, I'm going to tell you right now. Don't book no plans to Indiana. Because DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, and Dejanay Carrington are going to have their way. The Minnesota-Phoenix matchup,
You might have to go to Minnesota without me.
Ooh, that one's going to be a tough one to call. But even harder than that is, of course, the 4-5, where Vegas has to win 1 to bring Game 3 to Las Vegas. Because Jewel Lloyd and the Seattle Storm are truly in that arena, in their home arena, they're on a different level. So we will break that down.
You know what annoys me about the format real quickie?
No, go ahead.
Before we get out of here is like in a 3-game series that the lower seed gets the last home game. Because a 4-5, a 3-6, maybe not so much a 2-7 or a 1-8, but I mean, if it happens, why should the team that finished 8th get the last game at home? Like, they should start the 1 game on the road, which people would say is asinine. You play, but no, because then you get the next 2 at home. And if you win it in 2, guess what? You were there, you came home. I mean, look, I see both sides. And again, I think in the first round, people are saying, the higher seeds, which you and I both know, you don't play the game on paper. It's not always chalk. I see both sides, typical me answer, but it just kind of annoys me that if I'm the 8th seed that you have to come, if I was lucky enough somehow to get a game in your home arena, which I guess is their argument, but the last game is played, in my arena when you kicked ass.
But I think it's the travel issue. Well, that's what I truly believe it is. Because think about it like this. It's only 3 games.
Right.
Okay. Where I agree with you,
but that's another.
Where I agree with you, the visiting team should get game 1, and then the home team, the higher seeded team, if you will, should get games 2 and 3. If they make that switch, then fine. But if you're a higher seed, we've seen this all the time. The higher seed always gets home field, whether it be for 1 game, whether it be for 100%. A best of 7.
Right.
Right.
But
in a 3-game series, though,
exactly,
the visiting team.
I mean, chances
because if you win game 1, you've secured yourself a home game.
Right. Yeah. And look, again, I'm sure, obviously, I'm saying every idea that, somebody has that we don't is dumb, but I just look at that. But I was also going to say this to you. Let's get through, the next 2 years, obviously, with expansion next year and the year after in Toronto. And then, Eric, here, hold on. I'm going to whisper this because I don't want anybody to take it seriously. Change the first round to best out of 5. So it's 2-2-1. That's how you make more money. Look, I think you get it wrong. And the money thing is, again, and the travel, you're right. Now that they got the flights and stuff, and, it's definitely understandable. But that could take 2 years. But no, I'll me being a wise ass aside, I just think you make the first round at least the best out of 5. So it's 2-2-1. because at least then that top seed. And if the first round games are going 5, Eric, again, they're not purposely going 5. I'm guessing it's pretty damn good. And we've seen how good the product is and how much better. Well, again, it was never bad, but for people like you said that have just started and had their own assumptions and never kept up, again, one of those things. But with the product getting better, like, I'm sorry, I want to see a best out of 5. Then it'll be 7, but then the championship round, the final should be best out of 7, just like the NBA. I'm sorry.
I think in time we will get to that level.
Right. Because you know me, I'm never getting
now,
off that one. I've said it to you from the beginning, even before you started watching when the Mercury won. I'm like, it needs to be better. Like, if they just want to wait till the finals, it needs to be best out of 7.
No argument from me. All right, my brother, we got to get out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the Sports Arena tonight. Mike Cartenuto, ASU, Forks Up. He's a Sun Devil, Jerry. Shout out to our guest popping in, the Playmaker, joining us here on tonight's show. We will see y'all next Monday night.
He's stealing our people.
Nah, that's all right. I'm going to have that conversation. I'm going to get them. But you know what? He's an honorary member. That brother can always chime in whenever he feels to.
And I was going to say something real quick about the Queen of Hoops. It's right. She's been busy doing a lot, working for the D-backs affiliate there, kicking ass and Miss 806. But I mean, ever since that whole Dallas Phoenix thing, she's high. She's big time. She's high stepped us? We got the stiff arm. We got the Heisman.
I know.
I'm just saying.
That's all right. We gonna fix her. She already know what time it is. That's all right, Mike. This might be the first year where I actually don't give you so much grief when it comes to that team down in Dallas. Well, I might just put it all on her.
Thank God.
I might just have to call in to 806 Sports and be like, so what's up, Megan? What's going on with your team over there, Megan? What your future baby daddy ain't doing his job down there, huh? I see CeeDee Lamb ain't getting 100 yards. I might actually leave you alone this year, Mike.
At 11:04 Eastern Standard Time on August 12th, Eric Wilson made me a promise. We'll see what happens. I'm holding on to I almost fell over, man. I wish I was there to give you a hug right now.
I'm just saying. I might put it all on her this year. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, much love. We will see y'all next week. Everybody stay blessed. Peace.